What warning signs should parents look for when it comes to sort of that unhealthy digital use in their own households? What warning signs would you sort of kind of say that's a red flag, something that needs to be addressed?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's what the big ones are is the isolation where they're constantly going into their bedroom to be on their devices so they can isolate themselves, turning off Wi-Fi at a certain time, making sure their devices aren't in their bedrooms at night. And that includes gaming devices, right? And consoles. So if they're gaming devices in their bedroom, then taking the remotes out of the room at night because it's an addiction. And so would you put alcohol in a bedroom if they're alcoholics, right? So we have to take these addiction pieces out to help set them up for success.
What are some good conversation starters for parents to use when talking to their kids about digital issues or devices?
So, hey, everybody, welcome to the Raising the Next Gen podcast. I'm Pastor Angie Larson, and I'm here with Adrian Walter.
Hey, that's me.
Our director of Next Gen Ministries. And then we're so excited to invite our very first guest to the podcast. We have Kim Karr from Digital for Good. Kim, you're coming to us from all the way from California. Is that right?
Yeah, but I'm a Midwest girl and born and raised in Midwest. So I'm a St. Louis, Missouri, and Decorah, Iowa. So that's the fun part.
Awesome. And then I know that you know Adrian, like your lives have crossed paths. So I'm sorry about that, first of all. But second of all, how do you guys kind of know each other?
Uh, so Wilma's brother and I we went to school together, and Kim was always the little sister that once in a while was around. Um, we would sort of
We
see
played on
wanders through
intramural.
the
Yeah, we
things.
played on
Okay.
intramural sports together too. We got to be on intramural sports.
Oh,
That is true.
that's
That
fun. That's such a very Midwestern thing to do. I love that very, very much. Kim, you have this organization, Digital for Good, and we cannot wait to learn more about it. Will you just sort of tell us sort of what inspired you to start Digital for Good and why this has become sort of a passion project?
Yeah, so I taught middle school for 13 years, and
Oh, God
students
bless
kept
you.
coming. Right? That's the fun age. Students kept coming to me with like all these fake pages and hate pages, passive aggressive text messages. People were asking them for nudes. They were sharing inappropriate images, and they didn't know how to handle these really intense situations. And I started helping them navigate it, and I was trying to help them report things. And back in 2011, it was like 13 steps to report anything. They were using really big words that I had no clue even what it meant, so it was hard for me to report. So I started reaching out to the big tech companies, kind of explaining this, and actually they responded back to me, and they were like, "How are you even getting them to even report?" And I'm like, "I'm teaching students how to be digital first responders." And then
Oh,
the tech companies started working with me because they were like, "You're right. Can you help us make this better and this process easier?" Uh, and so, yeah, since 2013, it turned into a nonprofit. We've been doing this work for 12 years now, and just keeps expanding in multitudes.
I saw a stat that you had, Kim, that your organization has impacted like 15.2 million people.
Hmm.
Is that's
Yeah,
amazing.
that's
yeah.
amazing.
Thank you. And I think how we get that number is personally, I've spoken to the number is now at like 490,000 people that I've spoken in front of at conferences and at schools. But here's the powerful thing is we also do a train-the-trainer model. So we go in to a district, we train students and staff on how to do our curriculum. Or when we go to an admin conference, we're training them on our stuff, and then they're able to go back without me going there, and then they're able to train. And so as long as you can empower these students, empower these staff members, on parents, even parents, on how to be digital first responders and how you can report, get this information out there. That's how you're able to expand your reach and get the number that we're at now.
That's incredible. I love how you use the term digital first responder. I don't know that I've ever heard that. But kind of equipping parents as well as it sounds like teens to sit there and say some of these things that are not okay, that kind of come across our screen time, I guess, a little bit too.
Mhm.
So when you're working with school districts or families, what are some sort of common challenges that you've seen when it comes to managing screen time and these online interactions? What are the things that kind of bubble up in your world, but they can be those digital first responders?
Mhm. Well, I think the biggest one is that I always tell parents because it is a lot, but we have to remind them we're first generation immigrants on these devices. Like when we were born, these were not here, right? So we are having to learn a lot very quickly on how to navigate around this. And so just being kind to yourself on it and don't get you're going to get overwhelmed. I can tell you not to, but you are going to just because it is so new and things are evolving and changing. And so it is taking a step back and then work side by side with your student. I think that's super important with your child is like sit down with them and sit on the couch with them, sit at the dinner table, have conversations with your device. There's some things that even a first grader can teach you. Because this is their world, right? They were born into it. And so it's so cool when I go to these different places and I speak to students and even parents, like we actually now have a model where it's called Lunch with a Loved One, digital conversation, where you sit and have lunch and we're walking them, guiding them through it. And I think the biggest challenge, yeah, is like figuring out that screen time. Like, how do you handle that, right? And it's telling parents it's like, well, you need to establish some boundaries for them. Um, Turning off Wi-Fi at a certain time, like, that even includes for the adults, like, maybe the Wi-Fi does go off depending on your age of your kids, it's like, maybe it goes off at 9 o'clock and doesn't go back on until 7 a.m., right? Something so that the Wi-Fi is turned off, like, this is when we sleep. So you're setting examples and setting that routine so that they don't have to have those things. Making sure their devices aren't in their bedrooms at night, and that includes gaming devices, right, and consoles, like, so if they're gaming devices in their bedroom, then taking the remotes out of the room at night because it's an addiction, and so would you put alcohol in a bedroom if they're alcoholics, right? So we have to take these addiction pieces out, to help set them up for success. Like, we have to model that, we have to make sure that they're there, and, we have to kind of really explain to them, like, "Hey, I have my phone out because I'm waiting for a call from so and so." Like, because all they're gonna think is like, "Well, you always have your phone." So it's like, "Hey, I'm gonna put my phone away when I go to church because this is what you do when you go to church, we put our phones away," right? You have to model those kind of things. So I think those are the
Or
biggest ones that
supposed to.
yeah, so it's yeah, exactly.
Yeah, Adrian's always throwing when I'm preaching. I'm just so ah. No, no, those are some really great wisdom. What do you think sort of maybe gets in the way, of parents feeling empowered to sort of set these
Mhm.
boundaries, that you're kinda talking about?
Well, I think it is the biggest one is this is so many pieces, right? It's a calculator, it's a phone, it's your maps, it's your TV. It has so many uses to it now, right? And it's your email that it is hard to put it away as an adult. I've had uh, people test out like trying to get rid of things and try not to use it, but it's so connected to us. And then when a child does get in trouble by their parents, the parents do try to discipline them by taking their devices away, but it's more of a nuisance to the parent because the parent now
Yeah.
can no longer communicate
Mm.
with them, or the child just keeps bugging them, like, "When do I get it back? When do I get it back?" So those are the huge challenges, on that end, for parents for sure.
Yeah, I have a son who's a high school junior,
Mm.
and, he had a whole bunch of, other boys over at our house for, like, a sleepover, and we have a rule, we generally turn off the Wi-Fi at night, but, the rule is if the boys get too loud, it's like the middle of the night, then we just shut it off. We just can grab our phone and turn off the Wi-Fi, and it's so funny because then they're all like, "Shh, be quiet, quiet, quiet," and they all kinda calm down, then Sawyer sneaks up and he says, "Can we have just a little bit more time? We'll keep it down." That's kind of our punishment if the boys get too loud for a sleepover. Yeah, and it's a tool that it can go a long way to sort of set those boundaries and expectations.
Mhm.
Yeah.
It is one of the things that's interesting to me is that one of the harder things I think because there's so many parents that expect their kids to have their devices on them at all times. Like
Mhm.
we were on a youth trip to Montana once, and then I started getting messages from parents, "How come you're not posting pictures of my kid on Facebook right now?" And I'm like, "We were in the mountains," and they're getting really antsy. And so I think there's some parents that just expect their kid to have their device all the time. And so then it makes it even more difficult then to sort of set up the boundaries. Well, because, man, I don't know. It's hard. It's all new. I mean, yeah.
Yeah, there is
Yeah,
that book. That book is called Anxious Generation. If parents haven't read that, I
mm,
highly recommend it. It is a very research based. I think it is, like almost like a docudrama almost. But I'm just glad it's making people then realize like this is a problem and getting people to actually talk about it. Right, that we are creating more anxious for our kids because we have so many ways to track. But that's why you should, if you are that worried, then you should have the 360-degree app on your kid. And that way you don't have to keep texting them so that they can live in the moment, right? On that end. Because if anything does happen to them, it does send you alert on like a car accident happens, it sends you alert on the 360 device. So your kid doesn't have to send you that message right away. It pops up saying that there wasn't a car accident, that they were that's there. And I think that's something that we need to remind parents, like before you go on trips. Your kid is not going to have access because we are going to be in the mountains, or they're going to be living in the moment. They're not going to have their device until 10 o'clock at night to send you a good night message. Like this is okay, right? So I think that's when you before you go on those trips, it is reminding parents and making sure parents understand the less we have to sit there and make your kid feel guilty that they're not sending you messages all the time. I think that's the big ones that they can't live in the moment
right.
is something that's hard for parents for sure.
I think so too. I've read Anxious Generation, and you're right. I commend it to anyone who's parenting in the digital age. It's got some great information out there. I have a question. Like, what warning signs should parents kind of look for when it comes to sort of that unhealthy digital use in their own households? What warning signs would you sort of kind of say that's a red flag, something that
Yeah.
needs to be addressed?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's what the big ones are is the isolation where they're constantly going into their bedroom to be on their devices so they can isolate
Mm.
themselves. Looking at their screen time is a huge one. Like you can look at their screen time, you can even see where they're spending their time. That's a big way you can see that. If it's really high or if it's dropped dramatically, there could be a reason why it dropped dramatically too, that they're trying to avoid that
Mm.
kind of like stuff that's happening. So looking for the
Oh, that's
increase
good.
of those different things, right? So especially younger students, they don't go on certain games because they got into a fight with somebody, and so then they'll avoid that game because they don't know how to have the problem with this too is that we're so into this kind of communication that we don't do this kind of communication anymore, and so it's teaching them they'll block, they'll ghost. They'd rather do it that's their way of communicating with friends that they're mad at them is either by not responding or blocking them is their way of saying, like, "I'm mad at you now," right? So, I think the big signs are if they isolate, looking at your screen time, if it's high or low, are some big ways that you can kinda see if there's any kind of problems happening.
Hmm. So, what are some good conversation starters for parents to use when talking to their kids about digital issues or
Mm.
devices?
Yeah. I'm happy to give you we have a free resource that just kind of has questions you can have, and hopefully if you have show notes, we can put them in there.
Mm.
But the
Yeah, I will.
questions are yeah, perfect. And so, like, some of the questions are just like, "Hey, what is your favorite app right now?" Right? What is your how much time you feel like you are spending on it? Why do you like it? Who are you hanging like, who are your favorite influencers even? Like, who are you following? And sitting
Mm.
with them on the couch and making them that's what I do with any kind of student, right, that I work with. It's like, "Hey, let's sit together. Can you show me what you're following and why do you like this kind of content?" So if it's on YouTube or if it's, if it's a reel or even games, can you show me how this game is being played? I just sat down with a 9-year-old and he was playing Roblox and he was showing me this game and it had a knife and I was like, "Oh, wow." And then we talked about that, right? Like, "How do you feel about this?" And he's like, "Oh, I know not to use this in real life." And like, so then we talked about real life kind of stuff. Like these games do have knives and they do different things. And I'm like, "Do you think this is okay?" And we kind of have those conversations. So in real time, that's when I bring things up because I want to sit there and watch how they swipe, what they're looking at, who they think is people they should follow, right? They're influencers that they're kind of having to make sure they fit with our morals and our values, right? Is this fun and funny? Is this inappropriate, rude, or cruel? Is this appropriate for our family or is this inappropriate for our family? Sitting down and having those conversations is important.
I love that idea of parents sitting down, whether it's a video game or whether it's device, and actually doing it with their kids to actually know what your kids are doing or what the content that they're receiving. And I think that's great.
I did sit down one time and for Fortnite with my son, and, it just proved how very, very poor at video games I am. It just said, that I do not have these kind of skills in my life,
I
but
actually have a live stream of playing for it. on YouTube. We can look it up later.
Oh my gosh. So no, I did this one, like, "Oh, I'm real bad at this." So I couldn't stay alive for very long. But yeah, just sit there and say like, let's talk about these influencers. It seems to me, I don't know what you think, Kim. Influencers just change like the weather. They just it's constant and it feels daunting as a mother to sit there and like even know who these folks are, what their content is that they create. Um, I think it's just really overwhelming. I'm wondering if that's sort of, something that you've sort of seen in your work with Digital for Good.
Oh, 100%. And every time I talk to any kind of student, the different influencers come up. It's really hard now, I'll be honest with you, when we're working on curriculum, is when you're trying to talk about an influencer, like, I'm like, "Oh, who would be someone that everyone know?" And I'm like, "Simone Biles." And you'd be surprised how many people don't know who Simone Biles is. And so you try to talk about these big name people that they should know, but they're not following someone like Simone Biles, who is this, the goat of gymnastics. They're like, I'm like, so what's an influencer you know? And then they name this other person, and I'm like, oh. And I understand why, because you got to realize there's companies are getting smart, and what they're doing is they are using a C list, or D list influencer because they only have to pay them $10,000 to go and promote something. If they would pay Simone Biles, you'd have to pay her, $150,000 to go promote something. And so they're finding that you get more bang for your buck if you go for these people who you only have to pay a little bit of money, but they can usually get a bigger stand on that end. So that's why there is way more influencers, because they're seeing that you can make money off of it. And when we were
Yeah.
growing up, there was only like there was only certain influencers that everybody knew, right? And now
Yeah.
that's getting harder and harder.
I remember hearing a speaker sit there and say, when we talk about social media and all those influencers, and it really kind of transformed how I thought about it, that they said that the product is actually you as the
Mhm.
individual, that you are what they are trying to has as their product. And so they'll do kind of sort of whatever it takes to get your attention.
Yeah.
And I don't think that students, I guess the ones that I know, you'll have to tell me what you think, Kim. I don't think they have that understanding that they are being marketed to in all of this. They just think that it's funny or sort of silly or moving content.
Yeah, I don't I you'd be surprised what they do know, because they do know these influencers are getting paid, but I think they're going to people who they think are authentic and real and that connect with them in some level or way, right? So one activity we make students do is, well, any student, right, is just going to your phone, and if you guys want to do in real life, and so if you pick, if it's Facebook or Instagram, whatever, right? So I'll just go to my Instagram, and I'll just have students scroll until they find their first sponsored ad. So I got my first one is
Huh.
Valkyries, which is the new WNBA team out by me, and so that's the
Oh,
first
sure.
ad, right? So then we talk about that. I'm like, okay, why do you think this ad came up, this sponsored paid or even a suggestion page? A suggestion page is an influencer. Why do you think that one came up? Well, it's because I do like sports, and I actually was looking at tickets, right, to go to a game. So that's why this is coming up. So now we're having that conversation about you're getting targeted for certain things. And why do you think that is? I was with a high school young man, and his was a candy bar. And I'm like, "Why do you think he got targeted at it?" He goes, and he even said it. He goes, "Because I'm young. Like, they know we like, we like candy." I'm like, "Yep, exactly." Like, so sometimes it's not that you're, clicked on anything, it's because of your age, and they're paying for sponsorships to target this age group. So that's kind of how you can have that conversation, making sure kids do understand how it gets targeted to them. Because I think when we were growing up, right, can compare that note is look at the cartoons. When we were watching cartoons, they would only have the coolest toys, and some kind of a candy or soda would be promoted during that. So same kind of thing is happening on the social media. So especially like on YouTube, if they're younger, like there's going to be commercials that come up on YouTube. There's going to be things that come up that pop up that's geared toward them to want to go and buy that stuff.
I read something recently about Paw Patrol. I don't have preschoolers in my house anymore, but Paw Patrol, the whole TV show is paid for by the company that makes the toys for Paw Patrol. And that who is the group that pay for it. So they basically watched like a half an hour commercial for the things that they want you to sort of buy. And that blew my mind. I thought, what a crazy marketing strategy.
So, to be fair, though, that's how the '80s cartoons were.
Yeah.
I mean, it was Mattel, and it was those companies that had He-Man or G.I. Joe or whatever it was, and they wanted to sell their product.
See, my mom only let me watch like PBS, so I didn't to watch it. I was
And
like
that's
straight up Sesame Street, huh?
and that's another perfect example. It's like when adults get so upset about social media, it's like, you gotta realize there's so much connection. It's just it is evolving, right? So this makes my parents laugh all the time is when we were growing up, we had, oh gosh, I just went blank what it's called. What was the thing? You get stamps to buy Columbia House, right? Like to get the cassettes, right, for $1. And what that is now is like TikTok Shop. So it's very
Yeah.
comparison is Columbia House is like what TikTok Shop is, and the students are buying so much stuff off of TikTok. And so
Right.
there is a lot of comparison of these different things of hey, where things are now.
So, what is your advice if a parent has some major issues with their student, whether it's cyberbullying,
Mm.
you know, sharing photos or, being harassed online or, watching inappropriate content? What are steps parents can take
Yeah, I think the
or
big
how
one you
should
want to
parents handle it?
yeah, I think the big one is being proactive, right? Before that even gets to that point, is you need to be having honestly, if not daily, then weekly conversations with your kid. There should be weekly conversations about device. Even if they don't have any devices, they see you using your device. And so conversations need to be done around devices. And it's even you
Yeah, that's good
yourself,
wisdom.
like in front of your kid, if they don't have a device, you should be showing them weekly what your screen time is. And having you even yourself reflect, hey, where am I at on my screen time, right, for this week? Is there anything that I need to change because it was really high this week? Is there something I need to delete? Right now, I'm obsessed with Township. It's like my way of like de-stressing. It's just like you build a little village, you know? And I know next week I probably need to delete it for a couple weeks because I have gotten too obsessed with it. But right now it's just calming me down when I'm working on some a hard project, right? So I know I'm in that. So it's like we need to do some proactive kind of things, setting yourselves up, having conversation. Again, sitting side by side with them during the week. What kind of content are they looking at? And you're building that trust that they can come to you. Because what they're also looking for is that you don't freak out. So when you do see something horrible, if you freak out and you're like this kind of thing, they're not going to come to you because students don't want to come to you when you freak out, when you show massive, that kind of thing. That means they're like, oh, I can't show my mom this because she's going to freak out, right? So you kind of have to build
Mhm.
that relationship on that end. But then we're teaching them how to be digital first responders. Just like if you saw a car accident, you would call 911. And I think people use that whole see something, say something. But here's the thing, they see so much that they'll be like, "Oh, that's messed up," and they just scroll right by it. "Oh, that's messed up," and they just scroll right by it. But when you actually teach them like, "No, hey, is this messed up? Do you think this is messed up?" It's like, "Raise your hand." Because you're getting them to physically say, "Yep, this is messed up." Now we need to actually be digital first responders. Just like if you saw a car accident, you need to be calling 911. Instead, you need to report. Right? You need to
Yeah.
report. It is anonymous, making sure they know that because that whole snitches get stitches mentality is real. Like that's been around since we were kids. They don't
Yeah.
want to be known as a snitch. You're not snitching, you're asking for help. If you're not the one who reports this, it's going to keep happening to this person or it's going to happen to somebody else. And you don't say anything until it happens to you or someone you care about. And then that's when it gets to be like, and it's too late. Right. So it's like we got to teach them how to be digital first responder, making sure that we know how to report. If your kid is on Roblox, if your kid is on Minecraft, if they're on YouTube, if they're on Instagram, if they're on Snap, you should know how to report as much as they do, making sure that they know how to report, right? Because it is a couple steps that you need to make sure they know how to report, they know how to reblock, because they need to know how to block strangers, different people who are inappropriate when they're gaming. If someone makes inappropriate comments or if they're swearing, you need to make sure that they know how to do those things, right? And being a digital first responder is even checking on the person that got targeted, um, telling them, "Hey, I got your back. I saw it was posted about you. I got your back." It is telling a trusted adult. And here's the thing that parents don't always get is it might not be you, and that's okay. Because here's the thing, my mom is a very nervous person. So growing up, I didn't tell my mom a lot of things because she has a lot of anxiety. But my mom finally figured that out and she goes, "Have you talked to your trusted adult yet?" and she knew I had coaches, and she knew I had, teachers that I trusted, that she, knew that I could at least go talk to. So it's okay if if you're teaching your kid, it's okay if it's not them always to you. It's that you're teaching them that they can go to a trusted adult that would understand how to deal with those things.
That's incredible. Such good wisdom. Kim, I could talk to you about this all day, and I know that we're going to get the chance for more conversation.
Mhm.
Hey, do you want to just tell our listeners a little bit more about your website or how they can find out sort of all the work that you're doing?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Thank you for this conversation too.
Oh,
Yeah,
this
our
is so great.
website, our website is, it's digital for good, digital and then number four good. But we actually started with I can help is, yeah, so you can look it up. So icanhelp.net is usually easier to remember, because we were called I Can Help, and everyone kept saying, well, what do you help with? We help make digital for good. And so icanhelp.net. So it's our digital for good is our main pillar. And then underneath that, it's I can help educate, engage, and empower. So hopefully we did that today on this podcast. And so take a look at our website. There's tons of free resources for parents, and I'll make sure that they put some in the show notes for you too, to take a look at as parents.
Fantastic.
So the other thing that I'll just put a little plug in
Yeah,
too, that I'm
perfect.
really excited is that Kim is actually going to be speaking at a conference we're doing in September
Yep.
2025. And it's fantastic. And first, it's just fun to hang out with Kim because she's so awesome. And also, she has so much good content to share with parents. And, the reason I brought up the 15.2 million people
Yeah.
is one of the things that I most appreciate about Kim is she doesn't just go in and, hey, I'm just speaking to you. She's very intentional that she wants to influence people beyond just the people that are in the room. And so giving parents tools and talking to them about how they
Mhm.
can better influence and how, and so that's the thing that is more long lasting. And so it's that mindset that you have, Kim, that I really appreciate a lot.
Yeah, we are so excited to welcome you here to Alexandria, September 27th, 2025. We're going to have a conference here at the church where we're going to talk about raising kids in a digital world and just glean from your wisdom as well as some other speakers. So there's our plug for that. And we cannot wait to sort of hear more about the work that you do, as well as I appreciate your practical steps that you've even given us today. And I imagine that we'll just have so many more practical steps when it comes to talking to you in person. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
So
Good.
thanks, Kim. I most appreciate you joining us, and we hope you have a great rest of the day.
Yeah. Thanks for joining us, Kim.
Yeah, thank you so much. Great meeting you too.
Yeah, you too.